Unit 3, Cell Structure and Function. Objectives. What are the organelles found in cells and what are their functions? How do substances get into and out of cells? What are DNA and RNA molecules and what do they do? How do cells reproduce themselves? Looking back at Figure 1.2 from Chapter 1, today we get up to the cellular level. This is going to be the structural and functional unit of living things. At the cellular level of organization, we have the boundary between the non-living and the living. It is the structural and functional unit of an organism. It is the smallest structure capable of performing all the functions necessary for life. If we think back to the characteristics of life in Chapter 1, a cell is the smallest structure that's capable of being able to have all of those characteristics. Because of this, it is the smallest unit of life. A little history in the world of cells. The word cell entered biology in the 17th century. Antoine van Leeuwenhoek is recognized for inventing one of the earliest microscopes and observing a cell. Robert Hooke confirmed earlier findings and coined the term cell. Matthias Schleiden stated that plants are composed of cells, and Theodor Schwann stated that animals are composed of cells. This is all leading up to the cell theory, which we'll get to momentarily. A brief history of cells. In the 1600s, Leeuwenhoek was a Dutch scientist who made great improvements to early lenses. He's recognized for inventing one of the earliest microscopes. It allowed him to observe cells, including microscopic organisms and pond water, and even scrapings from his teeth. This is an example of a protozoan, an amoeba, one type of organism that Leeuwenhoek was able to see. Also in the 1600s, Robert Hooke, an English scientist, was the first to use the term cell. The structure he saw of cork under the microscope, seen here, reminded him of monastic cells or rooms, seen here. In the 1800s, Schleiden stated that plants are composed of cells. These are several micrographs of plants, and we start to see cellular structures. During the same period, Schwann stated that animals are composed of cells. Different types of animal cells here. All of this is leading to the cell theory. The cell theory states this, that all organisms are composed of one or more cells. Cells are the basic living unit of structure and function in organisms, and all cells come only from other cells. A little bit of a review here. Do we remember the difference between an everyday theory and a scientific theory? If not, go back and review this. This is important. Is there really a limit to cell size? You might not think so at first, but cells, by and large, are quite small. A frog's egg is about 1 millimeter in diameter, which is large enough to be seen by the naked eye. Most cells are going to be smaller than that. Some cells are as small as 1 micrometer. That's 1/1,000,000th of a meter. So to get some perspective here on cell size, the human eye can see things that are a little smaller than 1 millimeter. With a light microscope, which is the common one that you'll see in many biology labs, we can see things up to the organelle level. Organelles, as we'll see, are tiny structures or little organs within cells. And we can see bacterial cells as well. An electron microscope is what you would need to see structures smaller than that, viral particles, proteins, and other macromolecules. If we had our light microscope, larger organelles are what we're going to see first. As we go along, we'll get an idea of what those are. Cells are small for a reason. Being small is an advantage for multicellular organisms such as ourselves that are composed of more than one cell. Nutrients such as glucose can enter the cell, and waste such as carbon dioxide can exit the cell. So this is part of the challenge of cells, is they need to be able to efficiently move nutrients in and waste out. Therefore, surface area affects the ability to get materials in and out of the cell. As a cell increases in volume, the proportionate amount of surface area decreases. One of the questions we look at is, could the blob really exist? The blob was a science fiction unicellular organism that went around and engulfed people. So, is this really science fiction? Could something as large as the blob exist? Well, as we were just discussing, this proportion of volume to surface area becomes important for a cell. To illustrate this, for a cube-shaped cell, we're going to look at how the surface area to volume ratio is affected when we have a greater number of sides. If a cell doubles in size, its surface area increases fourfold, while the volume increases eightfold. Let's look at this. If we have 1 4-centimeter cube, the surface area, we have 6 sides here, right, for a cube. So 4 times 4 for one side times 6 gets us 96 centimeters squared for the surface area. If we were to slice that 3 different ways so that we have 8 2-centimeter cubes, the surface area is now 192 centimeters cubed. If we slice that again several ways into 64 1-centimeter cubes, now the surface area is 4 times that at 384 square centimeters. Notice how all 3 of these have the same volume, but the group on this far right with the 64 1-centimeter cubes has 4 times the surface area of the single cube on the left. If you're imagining these faces as tiny windows or doors and as a potential surface for a cell to let materials in or out, we can quickly see how having greater surface area is more efficient for a cell.